Shalom, everybody. My name is X-Gentile, also known as John Seals. Today is the first day of the week, Sunday. So please join me as I will be showing the Gentiles the Besorah of Yahusha. We read from this book. Once again, my name is John Seals, also known as X-Gentile. I am coming to you from the Yehudim Helping Hand out of Lee Summit, Missouri. So please join us today as I share with you the teachings that I have been taught from Ranford Flemings, also known as Kohen. That's teacher in Hebrew. So once again, my name is John Seals, also known as X-Gentile, and we read from the Besorah of Yahusha here. This book is very important. I cannot tell you of how important this book is. This book has changed my life forever. That's why I want to share this book with you. It's very important you have this book. So anyways, today, like last week, I told you I will be getting into Jacob 3, because it is time for Jacob to wake up and realize he is the chosen and his time is now. And in order for the Gentiles to get in, Jacob must be awake. Otherwise, it cannot happen. So I want to start off today. I want to get into some prayer. So please, if you have your Besorah, open up your Besorah to page 7. All right. Here we go. This is how we are to pray. So please, let's give our Father some respect in the proper way we are to pray. He shows it and explains it right here. If you read from this book, you will learn things that you have never learned before. You will learn his correct name. You will learn who the chosen people are. You will learn the Messiah's real name. You will learn the set-apart Spirit's real name. And you will learn how to pray. And this is an example of how he taught us how to pray. Let me read right here. Like I said, this teaching is for Gentiles. So if you are new to this, or you are a Christian, you need to come out of that, because I was a Christian too. And he led me out of there and brought me to him. And I want to share with you, and you must listen to this. Because if you don't, you will be merging with Islam soon, and they will be cutting your head off. And I will be getting into that later. So please join me right now as we say the Father's Prayer. But let's read right here. And his taught ones. Looky here, it says here, and his taught ones came to Yahusha, Messiah. And one of them said to him, Master, teach us to pray as Yehochanan also taught his taught ones. That one's a tough word. Yehochanan. Yahusha responded, when you are praying, do not keep on babbling like the Gentiles, for they think that they shall be heard for their many words. Therefore, do not be like them. And if you don't know what a Gentile is, just ask yourself, do you live in this world and you have a daily job, and do you follow all the holidays that they give you, and do you celebrate your birthday? Um, do you idolize sports figures? Do you go to concerts and idolize musicians? And do you vote? If you do any of those things, then you are a Gentile. You may not realize that, but you are. A Gentile is basically somebody who is living in the world and likes what the world has given them, and they're okay with it. And they don't think that there's anything else. They think that that is it, and that's what it is. But anyways, he says right here, therefore do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. This then is the way you should pray. And look, it says the word let, that means to permit. That's why it's put here, because we're giving our Father permission. We're permitting this. We are permitting this. So everybody raise your hands and lift your head up to the heavens and repeat this after me. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. For yours is the reign, and the power, and the esteem, now and forever. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you very much for joining me with that. You don't understand how important it is for you to say the Father's Prayer on a daily basis. More than once if you have to, and anoint yourself in this day, in this time. Because if you don't know by now, you Gentiles are headed to trial. America is about to be destroyed, and you are going to go down with it. And you will miss the escape that the Father has provided for the chosen people that he has made a covenant with, who you don't know. So please, I ask you just to watch and listen, and join me today as I will be getting into Jacob and doing teachings on, I'm going to be talking about today, we're going to be getting into the 9 fruits of the Spirit and belief and works, and what is bigger than those things. It's almost hard to find out what is bigger than belief and works. You would think that once you have, that once you're shown the Spirit and you use the 9 fruits of the Spirit, and then you have the completeness of belief, which I talked about last week, then it's time to go to work, because work without belief without works is dead. And that's where we're going to go right now. And so we're going to get into that today, because I want to show you something that I've been shown that is greater than belief and works. And don't get me wrong, the Spirit and belief and works are very important and crucial. You still must obtain them and must have them. If you don't have them, then therefore you're it's all for naught. You have no idea where you're headed. That's why it's important that you understand, not only must you have the Spirit, but you must have the completeness of belief, and then you must have works, because belief without works is dead. And there is something that's greater than belief and works, and it's just truly amazing. That's why I say And that, since we're at the end of the ages, which I've been showing you guys, we're awaiting the birth of a new order for the ages. It's coming. It's here upon us. And I kid you not, it's coming so fast. Most of us aren't going to know what to do when it comes. And it's going to be frantic and chaos. But anyways, I'm not trying to scare you. I just want to wake you up to the reality that you think you're living in, which is not. It's something totally different. And there is another world in front of us that you can't see. Things are happening simultaneously while we live in this realm. And you can't recognize what's going on in this realm. So how could you possibly recognize anything going on in a spiritual realm if you cannot even recognize the things in your physical realm? Like when you go outside, you can't even look up outside in the skies and seeing that they're spraying us daily with chemtrails, trying to kill us. They're poisoning our air, which that stuff is going to wind up landing on all the soil and all the crops and everything. So, I don't expect you, if you can't recognize as a Gentile, you haven't been given the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and that's why you can walk outside and not see them spraying us from above, and it's right in your face every day. It's like death from above in your face every day, and you can't see it because our Father, YHWH, he hasn't given you the eyes to see and ears to hear. And until that happens, this will continue for you. If you are not aware of what's going on in your environment, if you cannot see something as simple as like looking at chemtrails in the sky and how they're spraying us and going to kill us by us breathing it, and then also by contaminating the soil and making it to where only Monsanto seeds will grow under those types of volatile conditions. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but anyways, it's very important that you understand what's going on in this time, because we're running out of time. I've been teaching that for a while. You are running out of time. If you're on the coast, you guys need to get away from that. I've been warned not to go down there. I have a condo that I could go live in Florida and just sink my toes in the sand and wait on Leviathan. But I've been warned not to go down there. That's why I haven't been there in 3 years. So here soon, I'm going to have to make a trip down there and go see my dad one last time. And, I don't know how things are going to work out in the future, but I know I can't live there. And I know I can't go there. I've been warned not to do that. And so I will stay here, but I must go see him, and it will be here soon. So I might have to take some time off, unfortunately. I might be able to go live from there. I don't know. I've never done that before. We'll just have to play it by ear. But anyways, today I want to read some things to you that are very important. Let's see. Let's go to page 1283 to start off with. That's kind of where I left off last week, just so I can get you back, back on track. Here we go. Page 1283. We were reading, Jacob 2, which later on I'm going to read Jacob 3, because I told you I was going to read from there, and I will do that. And right here, if you look, let's go to 2:14 right here. It says right here. Look what it says. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happened to my... I don't know what's happened to my screen, but it's jacking up. Look, it says, "My brothers, what use is it for anyone to say he has belief, but does not have works? This belief is unable to save him." So it doesn't matter how much belief you have, even if you know for a fact that the Messiah died and rose from the grave. And you know, it's not going to matter. He's telling you right here, your belief without works is dead. Look, let's continue. Let's go down here, look to 17. So also belief, if it does not have works, is in itself dead. See, it's so important that you understand that belief without works is dead, but there's something greater than that. We're going to get to that. Just hang with me real quick. You know, I just want to reiterate some of the points that we were going through last week whenever I read all this stuff to you. Look at here. Look at 20. It says, but do you wish to know, O foolish man, that the belief without the works is dead? Mm-hmm. All right, gives you an example. Look, 21. I'll continue. Was not Abraham, our father, declared right by works when he offered Yitzchak, his son, on the altar? Do you see that the belief was working with his works, and by the works, the belief was perfected? See, so it's important. You got to have the spirit, and then that you got to have the completeness of belief, and then you'll have works, and you will do them, and these things all work together. And so, like I said, we read this last week. You know, look down here. 26. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so also the belief is dead without the works. So that's why I was telling you it's very important you know the 9 fruits of the Spirit. Let's go look at that. You know, because you want the Spirit. You know, if you have the Spirit in you, and the Spirit's in you, and you're really not aware of what's going on, it's very possible that when the Spirit that's in you, that you're ignoring, recognize some of these things, then your spirit will recognize spirit, and some of this will, like, you'll be able to understand some of this, and that's how that works. But you know, you've got to listen to the spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh. It's very important that you understand that, you know, because the spirit is the one that's going to show you these things, and he's going to create the belief. Because when the spirit opens doors and closes doors and allows things to take place and does things in manners for, of course, the Father, he is helping and working behind the scenes, and you're not able to see this. None of us are. But it's because of the Spirit, you know, he's there. It was placed in all flesh. But if you, like I said, if you have the jab, more than likely, you know, you don't have it. I'm pretty sure you cannot have this. I'd almost guarantee it. I'd almost be willing to bet money on it. I hate to say it like this to everybody, because I know it's a cruel world. Trust me. But if you got one of these, then I would almost be willing to bet money you do not have the Spirit. You really can't. So any of survivors out there who haven't taken one of these, I guarantee you probably have the Spirit. That's why you did not take one of these, is because you have the Spirit, and your spirit knew not to do that. So if you have Spirit and you listen to it, you should show him some of these things. That way you could adhere to it and let your spirit recognize Spirit. That way you can have the completeness of belief when the Spirit starts doing things in your life and starts like showing you that he's there working, and proves to you without a shadow of a doubt that this is really happening and he's doing it. See, that's how you get the completeness of belief. And then once you have the completeness of belief, look, let's go back. But 14, my brothers, what use is it for anyone to say he has belief but does not have works? This belief is unable to save him. You know, so it's important that once you have the completeness of belief, you got to have works too, man. That means you better be doing stuff for the Father. You better be doing things. Ask him, and he'll tell you what it is that you need to be doing. He'll show you, but you're not speaking to him. See, most of you don't have that spiritual connection, because you're not listening to the spirit. You're listening to the other side of your conscious, that you're getting signals from, you know, the serpent of old, and the world and everything in there, in the world that he has created, trying to get your attention. And so, you know, you got to be set apart in order to obtain this. If you are not set apart and you are full Gentile, and like I explained earlier, if you are participating in all the holidays, you know, and you vote, which isn't the adult version of writing letters to Santa Claus, and you probably, you know, believe in Santa Claus, and you probably think, everything is like NASA says, and just everything the world gives you, you believe it. And if that's the case, you are not set apart. And all Gentiles are not set apart. That's why you're called a Gentile. Is because you're not set apart. You're one that depends on the world and feeds off the world and lives in it and basks in it, and just like tries to get other people to do what you're doing. That's a Gentile. That's why you must become an X-Gentile. You must leave her. You must find out who the chosen people are and start following them and learn their laws and commands. And they're hard to find. Trust me, it's not like you can just go out there and see them on a daily basis. That's not going to happen. I promise you. That's impossible. All right, so now let me get back into this. Let's go to page 1219. Okay. I want to read here at 1219, 13:4. This is what I've discovered just here recently. And I've been learning about this for at least a couple years now. You know what this word we're getting ready to talk about, that is bigger than works and belief. So you think this journey is that easy whenever you got to pay attention to the spirit. First of all, you got to make sure you have the spirit, because most of you don't. And if you don't, it's not going to work. So you got to recognize you have spirit. Then you got to allow your spirit to recognize spirit and start finding some of this information and letting the spirit work in your life and doing things to change you so you have the completeness of belief. And then once you have the completeness of belief, then you go to work and you start doing works and you start doing things that you're acknowledging to our Father Yah in the heavens, that I see that you exist and I know you're on the other side, and I want to do things now for you here before I come back to you or cross over. I mean, you must start doing things for the heavens and investing in that now, not trying to see what it is, how famous you can make yourself. You know, that's greed of gain, and you do not want to go that route. I promise you. You want to be able to show your Father through beliefs, the spirit, belief, and works, that you love him and you're willing to give up your life and give everything back to Satan, and stop living in the ways of the world and be set apart. And you're done with all this madness and you want it to stop, and you want him to show you that there's a better life, because there is, but it's right in front of you, but you refuse to recognize it. It's right in front of you. If it was a snake, it would have bit you already. So let's go here to page 1219, 1 Corinthians 13:4. And this is what I've discovered that is greater than belief and works. And I'm not kidding you. Let's get into it right here. Look, it's love. Love is greater than belief and works. And it is also the completeness of Torah. Trust me when I tell you that. Page 1218. Look, but right now let's look at page 1219, 13:4. Look at what it says. Love is patient, is kind. Love does not envy. That means love don't say, oh man, I wish I was you. Love does not boast. Love is not puffed up. 5, love does not behave indecently. Praise Yah. 4, love does not seek its own. You know, because it's if you have love, you're thinking of somebody else. You'd rather help somebody else. You're not thinking of your own. That's an example. 4, love is not provoked. It's just not. 4, again, love reckons not the evil. And look, love, 6 right here. Love does not rejoice over the unrighteousness. Right. Love doesn't like rejoice because we see somebody that we may not like fall. Or we see somebody that we don't like maybe pass away. Or we see somebody that we don't like, get a pie shoved in their face or something. We don't rejoice over that. But rejoices in the truth. And you know who the truth is. It's the Messiah. And those are the facts. You know it is. 7, look, it covers all. Do you see that? Love covers all. Look, love, it believes all. Love, it expects all. Love, it endures all. See, that's how important love is. Because without love, you do not have the completion of Torah, because love is the completion of Torah. It is. So you got to understand this. This is how important this stuff is. So if you thought it was hard, if you just was recognizing that you may not, whether you do or don't have the Spirit, yeah, that's important. That's very important. You better recognize today. Where are we at? You better recognize today that whether or not you have the Spirit or not. I mean, seriously, you're running out of time. I don't know who you are, but I can tell you this, you're running out of time. Because if you don't know that you have the Spirit and you're not paying attention, I can give you a clue. If you ain't been vaccinated, I'm almost be willing to bet money. We ain't going to do that, but we're just going to say, I almost guarantee you probably have the Spirit. Because somebody that doesn't have the Spirit isn't going to take that stuff. Somebody that has the Spirit, they're not going to take it. And so there's your clue. If you haven't been vaccinated, chances are you might have the Spirit. And if you do, you better start paying attention. You better start looking at some of these words and recognize some of these books, recognizing some of these people, who the chosen people are. Not these guys. Not these guys. Not these fellas down here that I'm smacking this book with. And I'm sorry I made it look like that. I apologize. I wasn't trying to make it look quite like that, but it's irritating because I see it, and I know that how they are imposters and how they've said they're the chosen and they are not, and everything's covering for them, and this whole beast system is working for them, and it's trying to make it seem like, yeah, it's them, this is the guys, it's them, but it's not them, it's these guys. And that's why you got to wake up right now. So we got to work together in this. This isn't a fight amongst each other. This is a fight amongst, I'm telling you now, the wicked one for your soul, and Yahuwah Elohim, who wants you to fulfill his desire. Don't think that he don't love you. I promise you, he does. He didn't create you or placed you here because he doesn't care. And I know some of you can say all kinds of things. Why does he let babies die and stuff like that? And that's how you try and justify he doesn't care. And I'm going to tell you now, he lets that stuff happen because so you will see enough wicked in front of your face, maybe one day you'll get it. I mean, look, you just got, let's go back to scripture here. Let's get back into this. Where was we at? Right here. Look at what it says right here. Okay. 1 Corinthians, page 1219, 13, 4. I'm going to read it again in case you just started. That's where I'm at. You can find this in your Bible, but it's not going to be, it's close, but it's not the same. And why would you want like a crappy version of this? Come on. Why are you playing games with this? Why would you take a chance? Like I said, the only proof I can prove to you is that this book came, this book is the only book mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's why I trust it. When I know that his real name is written in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then he gave the commandments written to Moses that he wrote with his finger and signed his name, and it was written for Moses to share with us, and he did. That's how it got in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And if you don't believe that none of this, then that's not my fault. You're going to surely die. And so it's very important that you, like I said, you got to understand whether or not you have the Spirit. And if you do, you better show him these things. Show the Spirit inside of you these things. That way it can recognize Spirit. That way he can activate you in this day and this age. And you can discover who you are and what he wants, what our Father wants for you to do, and why he put you here. Whatever you've been doing all your life, believe it or not, he trains you for something, and you just don't know it. You're getting ready to use what he trains you for in this day, but you don't know it because you're a Gentile. You're getting ready to go celebrate a holiday or go to a party this weekend and ignore the set apart days. You're not set apart. A Gentile is not set apart. Never has been and never will be. So look, let me read right here. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not boast. Love is not puffed up. Love does not behave indecently. Love does not seek its own. Love is not provoked. Love reckons not the evil. Love does not rejoice over the unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. Praise Yah. 7, it covers all, believes all, expects all, and it endures all. Do you see that? Looky right here. This is one of my favorite words right here. I love these words. I could just, tears of joy coming out, just gushing. 8, love never fails. Do you see that? I can't express to you how important that is to me. Because like I said, the Spirit's done things in my life to complete my belief that he has shown me how his love never fails. That's why you don't know. You gotta know this. And look, and whether there be prophecies, they shall be inactive, or tongues, they shall cease, or knowledge, it shall be inactive. Nine, for we know in part, and we prophesy in part. 10, but when that which is perfect has come, and you know who that is, that's the Messiah, then that which is in part shall be inactive. 11, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I thought as a child, I reasoned as a child. You see that? But when I became a man, I did away with childish matters. That's right. 12, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know as I also have been known. And looky right here. And now belief, expectation. What do you expect? You know, the things you expect. You know, that you could put works in there. So you have, and now, third, look at that. Look at this. Let me show you. Page 1219, 1 Corinthians 13:13. And now belief, expectation, and love remain. These three, you see that? These three remain. Once you get so far, these things are the things you're going to have. Your belief and your works and love remain. These three. But the greatest of these, he says it right here, is love. I'm telling you now, you're going to struggle in your life, in everything you do, if you don't have love in all the things you do and say and speak and think about. I mean, it has to be an eat, sleep, and breathe type of deal. Otherwise, it don't work. It won't work. So let me just, since you all are Gentiles, I want to take you back real early. Let's go to page 1. Let's start at page 1 here. So let's see here. Let me see. Let's go. Page 1. That's how important this book is. Look, they're showing you his name. You know, you got his name right here. Everything you need to know is right there in that symbol right here. Look, it says right here, Yahuwah is a refuge for the crushed one and a refuge in times of distress. Those who know your name trust in you, for you have not forsaken those who seek you, O Yahuwah. And looky here, it says, this is in the book. In my book, I have this. It says, I pledge allegiance to the one above. Wow, we're going to take a pledge. And then just put your name and you fill out your name. And look, let me get into this. The reason why I want to show you this, because look, it says great news. If you assume that this statement reads to be a heretical in any nature, think and remember that the one above has permitted you the freedom to not only burn this book and your flag, but to serve, pledge your allegiance to whoever you choose. He hopes that you will consider him above all. Consider him. That's why he put this in here. See, you guys don't understand. Y'all patriots and Gentiles have been misled. Y'all think you're supposed to be taking a pledge to the flag. And he tells you right here, look, the one above, the one above right here, Yahuwah, Elohim, El Shaddai, Abba, Creator. I was, I am, I will be. That's who he is. He's giving you the choice right here. And if you think this is heretical by doing this, you better think again. Because look, he's giving you the choice. You can burn this book or your flag, or serve a pledge to your other allegiance to whoever you choose. But he gives you one right here, and he hopes that you will make it. You know, so you guys don't understand how important this book is. That's why I keep trying to tell you about this book. You know, this book is like this book. You need to pay attention to this book. Let me stop it right there, because you need to not pay attention to me. You need to not looking at me. You know I get friend calls and I get invites and all kinds of things all the time, and people want me to help them and do this and do that. But that would be great, and I would love to do that. I would come labor for you. I'd do whatever I could. If I had money to give, I'd give you money. But I'm telling you right now, the only thing that made me who I am and got me where I am today, you know, is this book. So why would I give you something that would just barely get you by? And then you wouldn't know how to continuously keep getting what it is you need. That's why it's important you get this book. Because while you're out there all taking pledges and signing this and want to take oaths and to all this stuff, but you won't do it to our Father. And that's why in this book they put it in there, just to show you. So let's go back. I mean, I'm telling you now, you guys don't know the power of this book. I'm trying to share with you. The power ain't in me at all. Trust me, it's not. Don't listen to anything I say. Just go look for yourself. Let your spirit recognize what my spirit's telling you, and see if spirit recognizes spirit, because this book should be able to have resonance inside of you if you have the spirit. You will understand it, and you will want to seek it, and you will want to fulfill it at any cost. That's why it's important you understand. That's the first page. This is the first page. Let's go to the second page. Look, Yahuwah lives, and blessed is my rock, and my exalted is my Elohim, the rock of my deliverance. There you have scripture. You can go check it out. Look at that. Bold, daring, prominent, and pronounced. From the first to the last page, alert. Might be too hot to handle alone. Boom. What do you think about that? Look, the Basora, and it tells you who put this thing together. You can go look into all this and see who made it, how it came to be, and what it all means. There's nothing hidden, and that's why I love this book. Look at this. The first draft of 144,000 copies. They only made 144,000. I wonder why. Look at here, page 4. We love you, Yahuwah, our strength. You are our rock, our stronghold, and our deliverer. We take refuge in you. You are our shield and the horn of our deliverance, our high tower and our refuge. And as our Savior, you save us from violence. We do not turn from your laws, and we are perfect before you. We guard ourselves from our crookedness. With the kind, you show yourself kind. With the perfect one, you show yourself perfect. Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael, your way is perfect. The word of Yahuwah is proven. He is a shield to all who take refuge in him. Yahuwah is our mighty stronghold, and he makes our way perfect. Yahuwah lives. Blessed is our rock. Exalted is our Elohim, the rock of our deliverance. Therefore we give thanks to you, Father, among the nations, and we sing praise to your name forever. Wow. See, look, and here this is telling you the Nazarene Translation Project. So if you've ever entered into, a Freemason church, because most of all of them are, you might have been told that you not to read from the Nazarene version. I was told that. So I read from the Nazarene version, because that Nazarene means watchman. Not Freemason hide some crap and we hang out with Christians and Catholics. No, that's what they're doing. Look, it's important you start, if you're new, you start reading from the beginning so you understand everything that's going on and how they got this book and why it was made. Look, it was written, look, by non-Gentiles in the first place. Providing the researcher with the uniformity of culture, context, and interpretation from a non-gentle viewpoint, being written by non-gentles in the first place. Exactly. That's why this scripture is important, and this book is important, and you're not going to get around this book. I'm telling you now, if you don't have this book, then you really ain't got much going. You don't. I just hate to say it, but you don't. I mean, just read it for yourself. Go check it out. I dare you to challenge this book, because you will get your rear handed to you, but the good thing is you will find out more than you ever knew in your entire life, so much faster through his knowledge. It's a better connection, than you'll ever going to get is through this book. Trust me. Let me read right here. 6, the mission statement. This publication is the backbone that promotes the name of Yahuwah and his Torah to all mankind. Did it say to a few? No. It says to all. Because the Spirit was placed on all flesh. But some of you could have destroyed it and may not have known it because you don't know who you are. And that's why it's important you know this. Just at least to just give the Spirit that's inside of you 5 minutes just to see something in this that will recognize that this to be true. And this is factual. So just like I said, you must be patient. You must have the 9 fruits of the Spirit. And the first one is what? Love. That's why I say that love is important. You must know. Look, let's get into it. This publication is the backbone that promotes the name of Yahuwah and his Torah to all mankind. This is the primary book to equip the saints for their work here in the end. See that? The end time harvest in Yahusha's ministry. Praise Yah. Other tools and studies are available. We pray that the owner of the vineyard will send many more workers into his harvest to teach all nations everything he commanded us. Israel, those who obey his covenant. See, that's who Israel. Those are those who obey his covenant. The ones that obey his covenant, that's real Israel. To obey also and engraft into Israel. When you enter his covenant, you are engrafted into his people. Israel and are set apart. Israel is a people, not a land. The land that is promised to his people will one day live in peace. But for now, it is under constant threat of attack and tribulation. We strive to increase the people Israel and are most concerned for the next generation of Israel, that they remain faithful and become the priest to the nations they are intended to be. Look at this. We are watchmen, Nazarene, Acts 24:5, and Jericho 31:6, also meaning branches. And consider all believers. Look, we are watchmen and consider all believers to be on the path to redemption through repentance, immersion, and obedience to the renewed covenant through the work of Rabbi Yahusha HaMashiach, the maker of heaven and earth. Do you see that? We do not judge or separate people into denominations, even if they do, but steadfastly press on towards the perfecting of the saints. Your denomination will not matter when you pass into eternity. You see that? So it has no bearing on anything now either, other than others' control over you. Look at this. Our goal and the goal of all Scripture is love. And that's what I've been telling you today. That's why I told you it's more powerful than belief in works. It is. It's everywhere. Even though there's lots of belief and there's lots of this stuff everywhere, but you guys aren't getting it enough and absorbing enough of this to understand what's happening right in front of you. Look, we teach the 10 Commandments, which is Torah, as the covenant of love, which they are called. You can see this in Deuteronomy and Kings, and 2 Corinthians and Nehemiah 1 and 9 and Daniel 9. Yahuwah said he would keep his covenant of love, the Torah, to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep, which means guard, his commands. Literally, if 20 years is a generation, that's 20,000 years. If 40 years is a generation, that's 40,000 years. Christians believe that the covenant has ended, but it has been renewed, and every word and letter stands, now written in our hearts. Look, our mission is to seek out the lost sheep of the house of Israel, dispersed among the Gentiles. See, that's why I'm calling you. You may not know if you're, Israel. You may not know that because you're amongst the Gentiles who are called and chosen to receive a love for the Torah, the truth. Our objective is to instill a love for the Ten Commandments, having them written on each human heart and mind will produce the 9 fruits of the Spirit. Here we go in order: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Look here. We hope this is your objective also, and that we can work together often to accomplish it, as we are enabled to by the Spirit of Yahushua, our soon-coming King and Redeemer. This objective is the renewed covenant with all of Israel, the 12 tribes spread abroad, and foreigners who will engraft into this olive tree and become Israel. So there you go. I showed you the 9 fruits of the Spirit, and look at how important this is. Look, let me keep going. Yahuwah calls his people Israel, and he calls his land Zion, not Zionist with the Z. Like you guys are so way off track, and you went off on a tangent, man. It's like imagine somebody skipping a rock on some nice calm water, and it's skipping, and then some bald-headed guy sticks his head up out of the water, and then that rock deflects and it starts going in another direction. That's what happened to you. Because where are you guys getting all this garbage of the world? I don't know, but you're not listening to the chosen people and its real words. And you got so much ambiguity and confusion amongst yourselves, you're probably never going to make it. This is your last call and last chance to see if your spirit recognizes spirit, because if it's in you, your spirit will recognize this and you will adhere. Look, Yahuwah calls his people Israel, and he calls his land Zion with a T. Tradition has distorted this distinction. The land Zion of Israel, Yahuwah's people, will one day be completely restored to them by Yahushua, who will return to establish his reign on this earth forever and ever. The tree of life is not going to be in heaven, but here on renewed earth, and all Israel will be joined eternally to our Creator and King, Yahushua. Look, blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. See that? Revelation 22:14. Those outside will be those loving and practicing falsehood, whoring, idolatry, and generally living as they choose. Those are you, Gentiles. That's you, Gentiles. Look, may the love and peace of Yahuwah surround us all as we serve him daily and pray for one another. There you go. You know what you got to do. These are your objectives. See, you don't understand what an objective is? Your objective is to get this 9 fruits of the Spirit. That way you must have completeness of belief. That way you can start doing works. That way, I'm telling you now, Yah will give you love beyond your comprehension. That way you can be complete. And it's so important that you understand that love is more powerful than all those things. And that's why it's first on the list of 9 fruits of the Spirit, because it's the one everybody looks over when they just want to say something, a fast response, and they're not slow to speak, to analyze things and think about, well, if I say something, would I be representing my Father in a good way? Yes or no? And if I am, would I, would I be hurting somebody that I may care about? Something like that. You got to understand how important it is to use love in your daily activities and your thinking and everything you do. You got to eat, sleep, and breathe it. Not just have the Spirit, but you finding, discovering that if you have Spirit, and waking up and recognizing that in this day, so you can obtain, the 9 fruits of the Spirit, so you can have the completeness of belief, because then the Spirit's going to work in your life and do things to where this is real and not a joke. And then once you have belief, then you won't have a problem going to work, because you'll know you got to do something. Once he gets you that far, you'll know that you got to go to work, because he just showed you all these things, and your completeness of belief is done, and so you just know you got to go to work. But one thing that is more powerful than them, you better make sure you have love, because if you don't have love, all that is for naught. You're just wasting and spinning your wheels, and you're not getting anywhere. That's why it's very important you listen to these teachings and listen to what the Spirit has to say. Because like I said, I've told you time and time again, we're running out of time. Real quick, let's see. I might have something on here on page 1205. Yeah, how about this? Page 1205. Romans 13. I know a lot of you are going to not like this. Some of you are. This is good. Look, let every being be in subjection to the governing authorities. That means follow the rules here. Don't be a rule breaker. For there is no authority except from Elohim, and the authorities that exist are appointed by Elohim. And if you don't believe it, I'm telling you now, even the bad guys, Elon Musk and Donald Trump were appointed, I guarantee you, by Elohim to make all this happen, so you would not see it, and it'll all play out like he said it would. I mean, you just don't see it too. So he who opposes the authority withstands the institution of Elohim, and those who withstand shall bring judgment on themselves. So you don't want to do that. Look, for those ruling are an object of fear, not to good works, but to evil. Why do you think they told you the only thing you have to fear is fear itself? I mean, they know what they're doing, and they know this book. Look, do you wish to be not afraid of the authority? Do the good, and you shall have praise from it. See, that's how I got out of it. I can't, like I said, I can't do anything for you, man. You got to get this book. This book is what will do it for you. Look, for it is a servant of Elohim to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword in vain. For it is a servant of Elohim, a revenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. So you don't want to be playing with this. Right now, you need to be finding out if you have Spirit, and recognizing the Spirit, but recognize the Spirit and find this Spirit. I'm telling you now, Elohim, our Father, Yahuwah, Elohim, YHWH, is the creator of all, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. There was none before him. I promise you. That's why it's important that you not have any other mighty ones before you. 5. Therefore it is necessary to be subject, not only because of wrath, but also because of the conscience. See that? Look, 6. For because of this you shall also pay taxes, for they are servants of Elohim, attending continually to these duties. Render therefore to all what is due to them, tax to whom tax is due, toll to whom toll is due, fear to whom fear, respect with whom respect. So I don't pay taxes because I know it's a voluntary program. I can show you how it's a voluntary program. Do you want me to call the IRS with you? And then ask, and I'll ask them, is this a voluntary program? And they'll say yes, but you just got to know how to not participate. I know how to not participate legally, so I don't do it. But if taxes are due to you because you signed that little box when you got your first job that said you wanted to be a U.S. citizen, which U.S. citizen refers to the District of Columbia only, which is not even part of the United States, you gave them the permission just to be called a U.S. citizen to give them your tax money. Instead of reading all the other labels for who you might be, like you have resident alien, that means you came from another country and reside here. Or you have non-resident alien individual / American national or national. That means non-resident to the District of Columbia. You don't want to pay taxes. That's what I am. And so you guys don't know that. You guys don't even read the book. You not have no spirit to guide you in your life and through the ways, because you're not trying to be righteous. You're wanting to live in the world. You want to do worldly things. You don't want to be set apart. The only way to obtain things like that is to follow, the scripture and to be set apart. And if you're lucky, the Spirit will show you how to maybe not pay taxes legally. I mean, that's how it works. But if you're living in the world, look, I know this ain't easy, but it's how it is. Look, 8, owe no money to any matter. No, owe no one any matter except to love one another. For he who loves another has filled the Torah. So if you're worried about the 600 and some rules about doing them because you want to follow the Torah, what does it say right here? Owe no one any matter except to love one another. For he who loves another has filled the Torah. So that means, there you go. That's love is the completion of Torah. Look, for this, you shall not commit adultery. You shall not murder. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. And that means you're not going to lie about somebody. You shall not covet. That means you ain't going to say, I want what he's got. And if there is any other command, it is summed up in this word. Look, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no evil to a neighbor, even if you don't like him, even if you can't stand him. You shouldn't be doing nothing to try and irritate him or get under his skin. 10, love does no evil to a neighbor. Love, if you would know the Father, you're going to represent him in his name no matter what, and you're going to go love on that bad dude, even though he's a real piece of garbage. You're just going to go love on him and smear it all over, even if it hurts, even if he wants to hit you in your face. That's just how it works. You're not afraid of nothing because you know who you're serving. You know who you're trying to please. You're not trying to please anybody here in this world or the things of this world. And Satan, who runs them. Look at that. Let me read that again. Love does no evil to a neighbor. Therefore, love is completion of the Torah. And do this. 11, knowing the time, that is already the hour for us to wake up from sleep. For now our deliverance is nearer than when we did believe. Wow. I hope you all got that, Levi priest out there. 12, the night is far advanced. The day has come near. So let us put off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. 13, let us walk becomingly as in the day, not in wild parties and drunkenness, not in living together and indecencies, not in fighting and envy. 14, but put on the Master Yahushua Messiah and make no provision for the lusts of the flesh. None. That means if you recognize it, that there's temptation in front of you through things like that, you better be able to stop it. Otherwise, it's going to consume you. You better be strong in this day, because I'm telling you now, Satan's going to use everything in the kitchen sink to get you, because we're at the end, and he's going to throw it all out. You know, so I'm going to stop right there, you know. I mean, it's amazing how love is so powerful. More, you know, like I said, I'm learning this with you guys too. I'm not an expert at this by no means whatsoever. You know, I have minimal training. I have minimal training through, you know, the National Yehudim Helping Hand Ministry based out of Hartville, Missouri, through Ranford Flemings. That's where my training came from. And it's like I said, it's minimal. You know, I'm an X-Gentile, bro. I'm not bloodline. And if I was, I'd still be taking it just as serious. I'm not pretending, but I'm acting as if I was, because I respect this that much and I think of this as that high of Elohim. I just, you know, if I was bloodline, hey, you know, I would put everything I had and what I knew I didn't have into it. I'd throw it all in. You know, that's how important this is, and you guys got to understand that. Especially Jacob. Come on, let's get it on. You know, I want to read from Job 3. So let's go to page 1283. Let me see. I might have it wrong. Let's see. If so, it'll be okay. I am man. Let's see. And I'm trying. It's what it is. Okay, look. Page 1283, Job 3. You know, like I said, I want to read this so you guys know who the chosen people are. This ain't for nobody but the chosen people. You must recognize who you are in this day. You know, I want you to come out and come forward and step up here in front of me and lead this thing. You know, your time is now. I come in after you. 3, not many of you should become teachers, my brothers. You hear that? Dang. Knowing that we shall receive greater judgment. 2, for we all stumble in many matters. See that? There you have it. There you go. That covers a lot of stuff. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle the entire body. 3, look, we put bits in the mouths of horses for them to obey us, and we turn their body. Right. Do you understand that? It's how they're trying to lead them. It's showing you this is how we lead them. 4, look at the ships too. Although they are so big and are driven by strong winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot intends. 5, so too little tongue is a little member, yet boasts greatly. See how little fire kindles a great forest? 6, and the tongue is a fire, the world of unrighteousness. Among our members, the tongue is set, the one defiling the entire body and setting on fire the wheel of life, and it is set on fire by Gehenna. So your tongue is a sword. You got to understand that. 7, for every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and creature of the sea, is tamed and has been tamed by mankind. Wow, that's so true on its face right there. Bet you didn't know that was in there. Look at that. This is, like I said, I haven't read this yet. I'm reading it with you. For the last 3 weeks, we've been going through it. I read you 1, I read you 2, and now we're on 3. So just look at how amazing this is. Look, 8, but no man is able to tame the tongue. It is unruly, evil, filled with deadly poison. 9. With it we bless our Elohim and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the likeness of Elohim. 10. Out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing. My brothers, this should not be so. And see this, I'm telling you now, this, I understand this big time because, I don't like saying bad words. I developed a very bad habit at a young age. 11. Does the fountain send forth the sweet and the bitter from the same opening? All right, see that? You're going to be judged by what comes out of your mouth, not by what goes in. That's why it's important you stop cussing. How can you be given blessings and then later on go drop a bunch of F-bombs? 12. My brothers, is a fig tree able to bear olives, or a grapevine figs? So neither is a fountain able to make salt and sweet water. There's some parables here. See, look. 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by his good behavior his works in meekness of wisdom. Praise Yah. 14. But if you have bitter jealousy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast against and lie against the truth. Don't do it. And the truth is the Messiah. Everything in this book and what he said and what he's going to do and what he's done. If you're going to boast against, the Most High, you're asking for trouble. 15. This is not the wisdom coming down from above, but it is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. 16. For where jealousy and self-seeking are, there is confusion and every foul deed. Wow, do you see that? So don't be jealous. Even though, look at what I'm doing. I'm being used to provoke, the chosen ones to jealousy because they need to wake up and realize who they are and why they looking at this white dude sitting up here talking about our Father Yah, who is, dark skinned. Trust me, I didn't pick that. And I don't understand it either, and I don't like it either, but it's the way it is, and it's the way it's going to be. There's nothing I can do but embrace it and love it. It's the only way. Look, 17, but the wisdom from above is first clean, then peaceable, gentle, ready to obey, filled with compassion and good fruits, without partiality, without hypocrisy. 18, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. Praise Yah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. So next week, as you can see, we'll be reading 4. Yaakov 4. Because like I told you, this is time for the chosen people. If you don't know who you are, it's time for you to wake up. Your time is now. It's very important you understand this. With that being said, I don't have much videos to show you. I got one little one I'll show you. I just wanted to come on here and just finish what I've been teaching you here for the last 3 weeks, in Yaakov, and about the spirit and how to recognize if you got spirit and how to show the spirit something he might recognize to see if you have spirit in you. Show him this book. That's how you do it. You got to show him this book and show him what's in this book. And that's how you'll recognize if you got spirit or not, because spirit recognizes spirit. If you ain't got it, you won't know this book. But if you have it, you'll know this book. And then that's why I say you'll get the beliefs, completeness of belief, because once you start obtaining the spirit and recognizing it, the spirit will complete your belief by doing things for you in your life. that you wouldn't think, that you thought were impossible. And then you'll know you have to go work because he just did so many things for you that nobody would ever do or could do. So that's how you know you got a job to do. But all those things really don't matter, like I showed you today, because love is more powerful than all of them. It covers a multitude of things, and it's so important. You must have it. I hope you guys got something from this teaching and this message today. Like I said, you Gentiles out there got to stop living in the world. And if you're bloodline, you got to find out who you are, and you got to wake up today. And you've got to find some real Hebrews and some real tribal people that are serving the laws and the commands and following, everything the way the Father says. They're doing it the Father's way. You'll know. But there will be no question about it. Once your spirit sees them, you'll know. But you're looking in all the wrong places, and you're doing all the wrong things. All right, real quick, I want to show you this. Because last week I told you, if you don't make the escape, that's what we teach. That's what we talk about mainly. It's very important you know that. It's what I've been taught. It was my main teaching. It was about the escape. If you don't know about it, then you don't know. I ain't talking about no rapture. You don't understand. Everybody has an escape. Everyone. Are you going to be able to recognize it and join it? That's the key. Because you're not allowing your spirit to recognize spirit, so you can't get any completeness of belief, so you can't put in any work for when he comes back. He sees you working, so he knows that you're worthy, so you can escape. I don't know how you didn't figure none of this out. I see it clear as day, like writings on the wall. It's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's the most powerful thing I've ever experienced. But I told you, if you don't make it, if you guys if you just have salvation, you're going to go through the trial. If you don't have deliverance, you're not going to make it. You got to be delivered. And so, if you're not going to make it, I showed you how you're going to be here when Satan's here and he's going to be cutting off your heads. I told you that. I know I'm not trying to scare you, and I don't like to talk like that, but it's true. So real quick, let me show you what's about to come your way.
You've heard the story about FEMA and the government buying guillotines. I looked into it. I thought that was bullshit too. Then I come to find out they did. There's paperwork. There's a paper trail. The government did buy a bunch of guillotines. There's a lot of things.
And I believe that was in 2008. It could have been, it was around in that area. So I know, because I did my research too. I knew this in 2008 when it happened. But let's continue.
I just found out. Well, you got all the plastic coffins, the polymer vaults, and they're for double death burials. You can put 2 people in each one of them. FEMA ordered 102,000 boxcars, trained boxcars, with shackles and guillotines. The U.S. government ordered 30,000 guillotines. FEMA ordered 16,000 guillotine blades from Mexico. Now, there's a paper trail. This isn't fear porn. You can look it up yourself. You can do research. This is all true. Why would our government be buying guillotines? Why would they not be buying extra blades? FEMA orders 2,500 gallons of hydrogen cyanide from Brazil. Now, why would FEMA be ordering all this cyanide?
They want
it's used as a weapon.
I told you.
It's used to kill.
Hey,
You've heard the story of flammable liquid that boils
one way or another.
Let me just read.
One way or another, this system wants us all dead, and they're going to kill us all to get to the chosen people, and they're going to kill them too. That's what you got to understand. That's why, the fight isn't amongst us. The fight is for our very souls at stake, for our Father, and we must recognize him in this time. You know, who knows what our Father will lead us into once we recognize, everyone recognizes who they are in this game. Let's continue.
Some of this stuff here. Hydrogen cyanide. There are very limited uses and most are not good for human beings. Wikipedia says hydrogen cyanide, sometimes called prussic acid, is a chemical compound with the chemical formula HCN. It is a colorless, extremely poisonous and flammable liquid that boils slightly above room temperature. HCN is produced on an industrial scale and is a highly valuable precursor to many chemical compounds ranging from polymers to pharmaceuticals. HCN has a faint, bitter, almond-like odor that some people are unable to detect owing to a recessive genetic trait. The volatile compound has been used as inhalation, rodenticide, and human poison, as well as for killing whales. Hydrogen cyanide was being used as a chemical weapon against the Central Powers by the French from 1916 and by the United States in Italy in 1918, but it was not found to be effective enough due to weather conditions. Wikipedia also says a hydrogen cyanide concentration in the range of 100 to 200 parts per million in the air will kill a human within 10 to 60 minutes. A hydrogen cyanide concentration of 2,000 parts per million will kill a human in about 1 million in 1 minute. The deep state is in big trouble. The deep state has sought to gain total control of the United States through the Democratic Party. The recent primary elections and the polls demonstrate that the party and the deep state movement are dead in the water. With insurrection from the left ramping up, it's becoming increasingly clear that President Trump is likely going to have to resort to martial law in order to keep the country from falling into a civil war. Therefore, there is competition for the control over FEMA camps. Okay, now I'm reading this from the website. There's a 3-step process under Operation Rex 84 and Operation Cable Splicer. There is a 3-step process against the American people. Stage 1 of the plot is particularly heinous. FEMA likes to use the term disruptors who will be terminated with extreme prejudice. These people will be gathered up and taken to a remote location and executed.
That's me.
They most often will be taken from their homes between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., which is what the Gestapo did, so as to not arouse the attention of the community and to lessen the possibility of increasing resistance. Executive Order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing and public funds, with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. Department of Homeland Security has been preparing for the resistance to the coming new authority for a long time. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. Look this stuff up for yourself. Go on the internet. Look up polymer vaults or FEMA coffins. Look up FEMA orders 2,500 gallons of hydrogen cyanide from Brazil. U.S. government orders 30,000 guillotines. Now, another thing, the FEMA camps at Walmart, they're a real thing. Just look at some pictures. Walmart disaster response team. During an emergency, a lot of these people now are going to Walmarts, and they're not being seen again. Why would Walmart? You see the people that work at Walmart. Walmart's going to have a disaster response team van. What the hell is that going to do? Well, this is Piney Prepper Bill. This is just some stuff to think about, some stuff to look at. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. FEMA orders 102,000 boxcars. Do you know how big a boxcar is?
That's to put you in there. I can show you the emergency meeting points, a sign on the side of the road, where it says emergency meeting point and it has like a number.
With shackles and guillotines.
I'll take you there and show you.
Well, you make up your own mind. This is Piney Prepper Bill.
Well, anyways, that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys got something out of today's message. Like I said, it's important that you read this book. This is the most important book that you're ever going to come across in your entire life. I don't care who you are or who you think you are or what you think you might be doing. Nothing is ever going to compare to what happens to you when you read this book and you start living your life through this book. You can say and do whatever you want. I already know from experience. So you cannot change what has already been done for me. Once again, I appreciate everybody for coming. Like I said, I thank my teacher, Ranford Flemings, from the National Yehudim Helping Hand Ministry. My name is John Seals, also known as X-Gentile, coming to you from the Yehudim Helping Hand Lee Summit location. Once again, I appreciate every one of you, and I love every one of you. I hope you guys got something from this message. Look, things are about to change. I guarantee it. That's why there are certain things that are happening right now that I don't understand, because I know we're getting close to something, and it's something big. So I just ask you guys just to be ready, and you guys have better been prepped right and have everything ready, because you don't know. You may not even wake up tomorrow. You don't know. But anyways, like I said, I appreciate every one of you. I just want to say shalom. Sorry I wasn't able to bring on any of the Levi priests. I've been trying. I have to get some approval first, because we got to get some screening on what they're going to talk about, and if they know, how it's going to go down. So, and I haven't got any approval yet, so it takes time. I just can't just do it. So anyways, I appreciate every one of you. I thank you for joining me. My name is X-Gentile, also known as John Seals. You can also be an X-Gentile. So please, find this book and start obeying the laws and commands. And so let me close this out in prayer. So open up your book to page 7. All right, please repeat after me. If you want to be set apart and you want to change your life, you better start saying this prayer. Raise your hands to the heavens and lift your head to the heavens, because that's where our Father is, not below our feet. So repeat after me. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. For yours is the reign and the power and the esteem, now and forever. Amen. Hallelujah. Once again, I just want to thank everybody. I want to give a shout out to the Hebrew priests out there. We got Yathan Moray. We have Ronald Holsley. We have Dale Leslie. We have Latif Legree. We have Mike Mello. Once again, I thank every one of you. I appreciate everybody for coming. I hope you got something from this message. I'll be coming back next Sunday, the first day of the week. So please join me. We're going to read from Jacob 4 next week. Other than that, like I said, who knows where the Spirit's going to take us? Let's just pray, to our Father. Thank you, for giving us this book and sharing with us the important things that matter, so we can, manage to be free. Because that's what kind of feeling I've been getting, from this book and all his knowledge and information is. I've been freed and I have freedom, and it's like unlike anything I've ever experienced. So once again, I praise Yah and I give him all the esteem. And let's see, I know I got something here. I know I'm missing something here. I'm missing something. Let me see here if I got something, some more goodies for you. It'll be in the Basora. Let's see here. No. Nope. Okay. I got everything out there, so I thought I might have been missing something I didn't get to. But you guys got the whole message today. So once again, I thank you all for joining me. Like I said, it's very important you recognize this book today, because it's this book right here that's changed my life, and it's made everything possible. Without this book, I would be lost, and I would not have no clue of what to do or where to go or how to obtain it. So please, I just ask of you, do not, call me and ask me for money or ask me for, if help, because I'm telling you now, the help you need is in this book. It's not from me, because I'm not the guy that makes those things happen. That's what you got to understand. I'm a tiny microcosm conduit, and also known as a dirty rag, that is just trying to talk to you and tell you about this information because it's great and magnificent and it'll change your life. So once again, my name is X-Gentile, also known as John Seals. I appreciate everybody. Like I said, I hope somebody got some from this. I just want to say shalom to everybody. I'll see you next week on the first day of the week. All right, one spirit as always, because there is only one Rahakadesh, and we just thank our Father, and it's only brought for His Son's name. We esteem all of them. Our Father gets all the esteem. Yahuwah, Elohim, our Creator, the name you see here. If you don't know that name, Gentile, I please ask that you find out. You seek it out. Let Him show you and guide you in life. Develop that personal one-on-one relationship. It's not a religion. It's a relationship that you develop with our Father Elohim. So once again, I thank everybody for coming. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Shalom.